All right, how's it going? Here we go. I'm gonna approve Kaspa Onion and get him in here.
Oh, hey.
Hey, how you doing, Onion?
Good. What's up?
Oh man, there's so much going on right now with Kaspa.
Oh, it's
Today's been
beautiful.
an active day. There's a lot going on with the event that's going on in London, and then wallet number one getting 33 million, and uh, that exciting interview with several important people who are involved in Caspa that happened yesterday on Bitcoin. I mean, it's our blockchain banter. There's a lot going on. Onion, I want to pick your brain.
Uh-oh. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so you and I were talking about uh, the fact that you recently did your own space where you talked about what you learned regarding weighted transaction fees. And then you had mentioned to me that this was stuff that you learned through AI.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to pick your brain, not only with what you've learned with AI, but things that you have been doing to teach yourself these things because you taught me so much during that. So I want to just ask you some random questions. I don't have anything written down,
Sounds
but I
good.
just want to pick your brain if that's okay.
Go for it. Go for it. And I don't have AI with me, so I can't I have to use my brain too.
I love that. So, my first question, I guess I would say, is what inspires you to say, okay, I need to ask AI this rather than choosing some other source for getting your information? Is this something that you do regularly? Is there a specific time period, or is this just something that randomly hits you and you say, I have to look this up on AI?
Oh, actually before Caspa, I was in I had accounting class. I was in college. I still am, and I just for all my classes, AI just aced everything. I shouldn't say that, but um AI basically it was able to teach me so much about accounting, and I have always had terrible grades in school, but I started using AI as a tutor, and I literally am an all A student, not through cheating, but through using AI. And I just keep asking, why don't I understand this? Why don't I understand this? And I just keep asking AI 1,000 questions about accounting. Um, and I started doing really good on my tests, and so I kind of have a general trust for AI because I'm getting real world results just from it teaching me. But I've also coded before. I used to make apps before AI, before the AI era. I've made some iPhone apps. Um, and during the AI era, I've also made some apps, and AI it's just been able to help me. And I have, I guess, I've done some stuff with coding before AI, and I've done stuff coding after AI, and I've just realized AI is so freaking helpful. There's really no point in me trying to really I don't know, I kind of I lean on it. Um I trust it. I trust it in a way. I don't know, I've used it so much, and I use that now in my journey for I've had so many questions about Bitcoin that AI has answered, and then I just do the same for Caspa, and it's muscle memory at this point. I just use AI so much, and it's pretty useful. I hope that answers the question. I don't know.
Do you ever argue with AI when you know that it's being biased or wrong, or you just know it's giving you some crap?
Yes, AI can is 80% of the time like actually like retarded. I have a lot of I have to like kind of force it down questions I want in a way. It's like got like a narrative of its own. You kind of have to like that's what I noticed. But what about you?
I want to keep this on you. I want
Oh,
to keep you in the hot chair.
oh, okay.
Although my answer would not be as interesting, I guess I just want to know your approach to this, because when you gave that space to the weighted transactions, I listened to the whole thing twice because I kept learning more and more from you, and you got that information from AI. And that's because you asked many, many questions and you just kept trying to extract the information that you needed. Was there anything that you learned in addition to what you had shared in that space regarding, well, let me back up before going into that question.
Okay.
Where did you get the information of where to find the weighted transaction? So, for instance, is there a block explorer where you can see this, or did AI just tell you this is what happens, that you can see the amount of data that's in each transaction, and that will tell you its value?
Good question. I was actually using just like a regular block explorer, and there's one that someone made an alternative to CAS FYI or whatever, and it had just labeled the transactions like Kasaya. It had labeled pretty much every type of Kaspa transaction was labeled, and I realized that there's data available, but then I also saw the total number of um, so I guess part of this is me just connecting dots, but I saw that the data that was also available was that like 100 million Caspa that day had moved, but I saw that there were only 40,000 transactions that day, and most of them was from like Kasaya, the layer two, inscriptions. And I know the other day I had made a shit ton of inscriptions. I know I had made 10,000 inscriptions trying to upload something to the DAG. And it kind of clicked for me. I realized, wait a minute, there was 100 million transactions in the last 24 hours, but only 5,000 Caspa was generated. I like had a moment where I was like, this network's completely fucked. But then I saw that 40,000 transactions were actually like transactions with a lot of data in it, and then it clicked for me, and I was like, wait a minute, this is actually a lot of fees for such a small amount of transactions if we remove the transactions that are empty. So that was before I even used AI. That was just me looking at the data, and I was like, huh, maybe I'm looking at the wrong data. And then that's when I had more questions from there, then I started asking AI. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a test that you did where you were testing to see if you what would happen if you uploaded, for instance, a picture or something into um, the archive, I guess.
Yeah.
And there were several transactions that went through to make that happen. Do you remember how much data was in each transaction and how many transactions it took to upload a photo?
Oh, yes. Perfect question. Perfect. So, um, my first transaction I ever did was I uploaded just a simple text file that just said literally in the text file it was just test Caspa transaction. I love the DAG or something like that. That I was able to upload, and that was about maybe 300 transactions, maybe. Um, Very small file. Um, but not only that, I was able to retrieve the file. That's not so much of something related to Caspa. That's more of the software I was using. So that was maybe less than a megabyte, far less than a megabyte, maybe measured in kilobytes. Um, so
And
that
this
was
was not a photo. This was a text message.
oh yeah, this is just a .txt file that you can make in like just like on Windows, just like with Notepad, that app. I just had a little text file with literally one sentence. It's probably but because it was a file, I was uploading like an actual file type. Um, Maybe 300 transactions, I think. So maybe a few hundred kilobytes, I think.
Did
Um,
you ever upload an image or was it just the text file?
okay, yeah. So that text file, that was my test one. That worked. Then I started uploading. I have a song that I really like, and I wanted to upload the song. and have it like saved as like forever storage, you know? And that song was roughly four megabytes. Actually, okay, I'm getting out of hand. Um I had 500 songs that I was trying to upload. This is how it started. I had 500 songs I was trying to upload. Um
Oh,
and I couldn't do it. It wouldn't let me. The software wouldn't let me. It's not an issue with the DAG. The software wouldn't let me. So I was gonna break it down in chunks. Um, and I did albums at a time, and the software, not the DAG, but the software couldn't even do that. But it got to the point where I did 4 songs at a time, and little batches of 4 songs I was able to upload. Um, Barely. Those were about 20 megabytes worth of data. So 20 megabytes generated about 2,500 transactions, I think. Yeah, I think that's if I remember correctly.
wow. 2,500 transactions.
Yes, and so I tried to upload. Um, I got 10,000 transactions. So that means I did that 4 times. Yeah. Um, and what's great is all of them uploaded, but the issue is the software I was using. There must have been a glitch or something, and it made it so the data I couldn't retrieve it. It got corrupted. So I was able to give Kaspa 10,000 transactions in a day, and it took forever. These transactions took so long, because the blocks are small in Kaspa, and I'm using a network that's like not meant for this at the moment. Um, but also the software I'm using, the way they design it, it uploads information in a way that's supposed to be friendly for a lot of people to use it at the same time. And I guess there's a glitch or something where something got corrupted. So if you upload stuff that's too data heavy, it gets corrupted because it's too many transactions. And I think if one transaction happens out of order, it fucks it all up. So yeah.
Do you think that was something that could have been messed up with the software? Because it probably wasn't the protocol, right? Because that's ordered pretty efficiently.
Correct. Yeah, I actually did a lot of research, and it's not an issue with Caspa. And actually, the data I was uploading took a while. It actually wasn't slow because of Caspa either. It's simply just like, have you ever used Kasaya Messenger and Kasaya is a little glitchy or there's issues? It's like Kasaya Messenger I've had some glitches with, and it's not the issue with Caspa. It's the software itself. And so that's the same thing with the software I was using to talk to Caspa is what was having issues with anything larger than like a text file. So if the developer can fix that, then should be fine, which is pretty neat.
Wow. How many songs did you end up successfully listening to or saving on there that weren't corrupted?
Um, Technically zero, and that's because the smallest song I had was 4 megabytes. I even stripped it of the album art, and it still got corrupted. So something I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to lower the quality of the song. It's gonna sound like ass, and which is kind of defeating the purpose. But
Oh man.
I know it sucks. But you know what's interesting is this reminds me of like early day YouTube. Like early day YouTube, the quality wasn't good, but it got better over,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I remember that. It used to be really bad, and there used to be no ads either.
Yes, yes. There's no ads on Caspa.
Love that. So those those thousands of transactions that you did to upload a song, do you remember how much data was roughly in each one?
In each song?
I guess in each transaction.
Oh, I don't know how much. I did a total of 10,000 transactions, and I did about four batches. And I don't know how much each transaction, but I do know that um 4 songs is about 2,500 transactions, and each song is about 4 to 8 megabytes. Um,
Okay.
so let's
So
let's
these would be really small as far as data goes, but as far as weighted transactions, because it's not nearly empty, it's considered more valuable, right?
Yeah, because I have a bunch of transactions that are, I think, like maxed out. Like the metadata of each transaction is maxed out. So I think these are the heaviest weight transaction. I could be wrong, but I think you know, there if I actually checked the block explorer for my transaction and it's just filled with just encrypted data. It's just like a bunch of ones and zeros and letters. Um, and I think that takes up space, which is good for the security.
Do you think this would be something that you would ask AI if this is something that you can have a workaround to keep it from getting corrupted again? Do you think AI might know?
Actually, yeah, I asked it and it said really the issues on the front end. The way to not get it corrupted is, I hate to say it, but the either I need to make an alternative and change the logic, or the developer needs to just change the logic of how it's uploaded to the DAG. That's really the main issue. So it's kind of a developer error. So it can totally be fixed, but yeah, but it's fixable.
That's cool. And you used to be a software developer, so this is something that is a little familiar to you, right?
Kind of. I never had the official title of developer, but I have, like, just in my free time, spare time, I have made an app or two, and I've done like some websites and stuff, and very simple stuff. But if I guess if I had the time, I could, I've never coded anything on Caspa, but if I have the time or energy, I would definitely like. I definitely thought about making an alternative. That was like the first thing I thought of. I was like, oh fuck, I wanna remake this so I can. But I've never done anything data heavy, and I'll get to it one day. If someone doesn't do it before me, I'll get to it.
If you were to develop something on Caspa and you had AI's help, what alternative application would you want to make?
Ooh, good question. I've thought of that. I actually I have personal business ideas that I've wanted to have a database for. Um, I can't share my business idea because I don't want anyone to take it. But I realized that I could use Caspa as a form of like identification and stuff like that, as like a ledger. Um,
Oh,
I don't know the logistics of that, but I would like to create something maybe like maybe I want to do like Kasaya messaging maybe, but like with group chats, or I don't know. I've never.
oh
Oh yeah.
yeah. Hopefully, it would have the ability to do audio recordings because X is getting rid of that.
Yes, yes, that would be really good. Audio
Wow,
in the DAG.
that's really cool. So when you say working on or your vision, if you could do this, would be to use Caspa, some kind of identification software. Would this be something that maybe is facial recognition
No,
or
no.
thumbprint or like any kind of bio, or is this something where it would be more uh, transaction based? I mean, what when you say Caspa based, what are you kind of picturing as far as? I mean, obviously there would have to be a signed contract, like when you connect a wallet, so there would be that. Would it be limited to that, or is there something else you're thinking about?
I was thinking more of just having the user data rather than it be on like Firebase or something, like Google's backend. I don't know if it's possible, but I was just thinking maybe having a like when you create an account, maybe all the data for creating an account. And this can work for anything. This wouldn't be specific to my app idea. I could be wrong, but my understanding is why not just have the user account data on Caspa, um, And I haven't really thought this fully through. So, but maybe it's like you know how a company can delete your account or something, or you can get banned. I was just thinking maybe your account info can be on Caspa, and then
Then you could recycle it based on what app you're using, right?
I was thinking something like that. I have a specific app idea, and I don't really want to share my app idea because it's this is my way to make it in America. But
Yeah.
it I don't know. I haven't fully thought it through. But another idea I would like to do is maybe just like a simple note, just like a notes app on Caspa. I think that'd be like a cool. You just have notes that are forever, you know.
Oh, nice.
But that's
That's really cool.
yeah.
If it's a note, would it also be automatically encrypted? It wouldn't show up on the ledger, right? So if you put a password in the note, would it be protected from eyes?
Um, I actually think that with Caspa you can choose to have stuff encrypted. I actually don't know how this works exactly, but what I do know is that the ledger's public, and I'm pretty sure the same way people can see, like if you put a Bible verse. Yeah, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think you can. Yeah, you can choose to encrypt because the KRC-20 stuff, that's not really like encrypt. That's all public ledger available stuff through inscriptions. So you can have inscriptions that are public, and then you can have inscriptions that are scrambled data that's private that only you can see. From my understanding, I could be wrong. I'm not an official dev, so don't quote me on that. But that's my understanding.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm not a dev either, and I'm not that technical, and I haven't looked that up on AI, so I have no way to know if that's true or not either. And that's what's cool, right? Because we're just regular normies. We're just people who are trying to figure things out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's great. So I like that. We were just coming at this, looking at it and saying, is this possible?
Yeah, yeah, totally. You can encrypt it. Because on Kasaya Messenger, all those messages are encrypted. So if you were to have a notes app, all your notes would be. I'm sure you could have an option to just the data that's uploaded would be encrypted. You know.
Interesting. So if you wanted to make something public, so if somebody wanted to, I'm just hypothetical here, if someone wanted to put a manifesto for something, a cypherpunk manifesto, they could make that public on the ledger. And if they wanted to put, I don't know, 3D instructions on how to make a special gun and they wanted to scramble that so it's not seen, that might be a possibility too if it's encrypted or scrambled or something like that. I would
That
think. I don't know.
that is very possible. There, yeah, you can totally choose to have if you want, you can upload a manifesto right now and it'll be public because and I think you can see this if you look at any meme coin and you look at the transactions, the KRC-20 inscriptions are all available. You'll see the meme coin name, you'll see the supply of the coin, you'll see the all that data. Those are just inscriptions. And so to upload other stuff and you don't want it to be visible, that's when you would encrypt it, you know?
Would it take another application for that? Are we waiting on vprogs, do you think, for that? Or is that something to your knowledge? Do we have anything to do that now?
To do what? Right.
Encryption of a text.
Oh, you could just I mean, you can encrypt stuff on your computer. I know how to encrypt files just like on my Mac. Um, but I'm sure there's a way to like put in a string of text to some software and encrypt it. There's probably ways to do it. Like you could probably just do it in the terminal of your computer, but I'm sure there's also software out there. But I don't know if there's a specific Caspa easy to where you just type something and then it encrypts and then it uploads to the DAG. Like that would be something someone would have to build, you know?
Yeah. And I've seen different cryptography things that are very old where they have things hidden in plain sight. So even if you had text that was public and visible, the letters would require a key to know what order to read them. So there's also those workarounds.
Okay. Then yeah, that could definitely be done then. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. And those keys could be put on a separate text. So one person might not know what a, if they'll see a key but not know what it unlocks, or someone might see something that's unlockable but not see the key for it. And if you have many keys and many things to unlock and they're all done different, it makes it really difficult to find. It actually increases the security of it, even hidden in plain sight
Oh.
without actual encryption.
So does this show up as like normal looking data, but you have
Yeah,
like,
well, yeah, you'd have actual letters, but instead of A, B, C, D, E, you might have A, Z, B, M, C, H, D, right? But with many letters in between each letter, so that you need a key to know what letter corresponds with what number to read what the actual words are.
oh wow.
Yeah, that's the old school way of doing it. That's how they did it back in 1913 and 1918, because I was reading these books about it.
Yeah.
So there are some ways to still hide data in plain sight, even if we don't have encryption that's easily uploadable somewhere.
Whoa. That's probably quantum proof because not even quantum or AI would be looking for that.
Well, AI could probably crack it because it's so old school. It might be able to really figure that out. I don't think it's quantum proof.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, that
because
makes
I've looked at these, and if you spent a good amount of time alone, you could probably figure them out if you spent a few days on it without help. So AI would be able to crack it, definitely.
that's true. Yeah, it could. All right. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah. I'll have to send you some screenshots of what I have because it's really cool.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy the most when it comes to picking AI's brain?
Okay. Let me think about this. Oh, actually, here's what I do. I go for walks. I like going outside, and when I'm on my walks, I usually listen to music. But whenever I'm on a walk, 90% of the time I'm thinking about Caspa, and so usually I just have questions. But what I do is I just you know how on like your keyboard you can do text to speech or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I'm like super lazy, so I do the text voiceover to speech, and I just ramble into the keyboard. I just ramble and I ask, what happens if this? What happens if this? So I literally upload like a 8 paragraph question to ChatGPT, and it just breaks it down so beautifully. And if it answers my question, I'm good to go. But if I still have more questions, I'll just literally tell it in 900 paragraphs with my voice. I'll just ask a full 2 minute question. I'll be like, I understand this, but I don't understand that. This doesn't make sense. Explain it to me like I'm a retard. And I literally do that, and I have to do that like 8 times before eventually it says something. But my favorite part is eventually finally understanding something. Um, the moment where I'm like, okay, this makes sense. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't like not having an answer, but I really like finding the answer, or at least getting closer to the truth, or at least what feels like the truth, you know?
How do you get AI to listen to you for 8 paragraphs without it cutting you off? Because
Oh,
mine always cuts me off.
good question. Good question. So AI has a feature where you can talk to it, right? With your, like, I had the same thing. It keeps cutting me off too. I actually don't use that. I use like as if you're gonna text it like a chat bot, like that feature. But I use
Oh,
the voice feature on my keyboard, um, have you ever used your keyboard voice text to speech to like write it?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I just do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're basically typing to it through your voice rather than just talking to it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And it breaks down the answer in paragraphs really well. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you use Gemini or Grok or something else?
I use ChatGPT, the premium version, just $20 a month.
Okay. I use Gemini and Grok probably equally.
Okay.
Um,
How what's the difference between Gemini and Grok? I've never used them before. Are they
so
good?
I've used Chat GPT and that's really good. So I think you're using a good product. Gemini, I'm getting for free, I guess because I have had Google for such a long time that they gave me a premium Gemini, or I don't know what I have, but I have free access.
Oh, nice.
And it's about it is that it tells me things Grok won't tell me, or vice versa, or Grok will tell me something Gemini doesn't. So if I need extra information, I'll go to one more than the other. So for instance, Gemini doesn't really read X posts,
Oh.
but Grok does. So if I want something read on X, I'll go to Grok. But if I want information um, that I want read back to me in human form, I'll
Hmm.
go to Gemini.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, if I'm at a traffic light and I want to have a conversation with AI, I won't use Grok. I'll use Gemini. And I'll just press one button on my phone while I'm at a traffic light and I'll just start talking and ask Gemini a question. And then when I'm done, I'll click send or submit. And then Gemini will read to me the answer. And I'll just drive while I'm listening.
Whoa, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. And Grok is really good for really up to date information, especially across X, which in itself is really invaluable. I think Gemini is better questions and grammatical questions, but I feel that Grok is better for understanding crypto because it can read X posts. And a lot of developers are using X to communicate and talk about their updates and what they have coming up, what they're going to do next, what events are coming, what's in the works. And X also crawls Reddit. So, for instance, just today, I do a deep dive into Kony, Koni, which is the satellite that Key is putting out in space. And I said, don't hold anything back.
Cool.
And so it did a deep dive and it crawled all over X, it crawled all over the internet, but it found its most valuable information from Reddit and said that here's the newest information. It looks like this 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter cube could be launched into space on some ride share to save $500,000. It could use Elon Musk's SpaceX, or it could use, and it gave another competitor. And it said, and it looks like there will be more than one node. It could be a constellation. It looks like there's going to be several that are launched. And of course, this was not mentioned on X. This
Whoa,
was mentioned on Reddit. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't asked Grok. And Gemini didn't know.
that's
So
amazing.
sometimes, yeah, that's why I like using multiple AI because they don't all have the same access.
Whoa, I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna try that out. That's crazy. I love that.
Yeah. This is why I use Grok and not ChatGPT because ChatGPT doesn't have the same permissions
Yeah,
and Grok seems to have more permission to crawl more places.
that's amazing. Okay, thanks for sharing. I gotta try that. Hmm.
Yeah, not to mention if you're paying 20 a month, if you spend that money for Grok instead for
Mhm.
just a little bit more, I think it's 29 or something,
Yeah,
then you get the ability to make Grok videos and make unlimited Grok pictures without limits and stuff like that. So you can use Imagine. So not only would you have Super Grok on X, but you would also have the Super Grok as an app that is very visual based. And that's really cool if you're going to go into the direction of making apps, or if you go back into software development and you just want really cool pictures, or in my case, I make book covers for people, and sometimes I blend different pictures together, and AI helps with that. Or maybe making a meme or whatever. There's a lot of memes that people use Grok for, and you can do that with ChatGPT too. And those they do a pretty good job there too.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. Damn.
There's other ones. There's Bard, and then there's Midjourney, right? And then there's educational ones that are for teachers, and there's a bunch. There's so many AI programs I can't even keep up. There's some for writers where it'll write paragraphs to write books and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but and it's interesting. I have someone right now, one of my clients wrote an entire book with AI, and it's a fiction novel. It's not somehow to nonfiction recipe book or anything like that. It's an actual novel, and AI decided who the characters were going to be, what their names were, what the plot was going to be, created subplots and character arcs and world building and the whole thing.
Holy fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not a book I'd want to read. It has no originality, it has no attitude of human anything. It's just robotic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes.
There's no words that are there's no sentences that are just one word.
Oh, okay. That changes things.
You're not going to get a sense of humans and the way humans really speak. You're not going to have broken sentences that are purposefully done a certain way. There's not going to be that sense of emphasis and attitude. It's very AI, as you can imagine.
Oh,
But the fact that it could be written is pretty cool.
wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
oh yeah.
I'm curious because I'm still picking your brain here. What motivates you to continue learning about Caspa? Do you think you'll ever feel that you are knowledgeable enough or satisfied enough, or do you think there's always going to be something you need to know?
Um, I will never be satisfied. There are moments where I'm fine, but I know that what motivates me is kind of fear in a way. And this actually started with when I was in fiat. Um, I actually worried about money for a little bit when I was in high school, so I picked up a book and I read a book about money and I watched YouTube videos, and then I was like, holy shit. And that's what led me to Bitcoin. But then as I learned about Bitcoin, I was involved in Bitcoin, it was always fear that made me like I kind of do something retarded. What I first did was with Bitcoin was I was like, oh, I like this idea, and I just put all my money in it. And then whenever the price tanked, instead of selling, I just got scared. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what did I put my money in? And it would kind of force me to learn because I was like, I don't want to sell at a loss. And then I would just learn a little bit more about Bitcoin. And that just happened so many times that I eventually I got really comfortable with Bitcoin because I just was forced to learn so much because I was scared so much. I was like, what happens if China attacks Bitcoin? What happens if like I didn't even know how nodes worked. I guess fear. Fear is what drives me. And then same thing with Kaspa. I had all these questions with Bitcoin. I found Kaspa, and then I have fears about the fee market. I have fears about the really fast halvings. I have fears about what happens if you like Jonathan dies? What happens if Sutton dies? Are we fucked? Like how does all this work? How does open source software work? Like I just have to sometimes I'm at peace and then other times I just I have something gnawing in the back of my head. I get worried and then I have to research it until I'm like, "Oh, well that's the answer to that question," you know? Because I used to be really worried about the difference between a blockchain and a block DAG. Like that was scary to me. Like why would I leave the blockchain? But now I know so much about the blockchain that that's what makes me scared, you know? So now I'm actually at peace because of what I learned. So I don't know, like the end goal is peace. And so anytime I'm fearful, I just replace it with trying to learn, and sometimes it takes time. That's I hope that makes sense,
It does, and it actually partially gets into my next question, which is
Oh,
since you're motivated by that fear and you want to feel that peace, you made a huge transition recently by deciding to go 100% into Kaspa rather than Bitcoin. And here's my question.
oh,
Bitcoin has a longer history and a pattern of number go up. And for most people who are unfamiliar with Kaspa's tech, they would see it being a more fearful proposition to move to Kaspa. But you chose to go into Kaspa anyway because it gave you less fear. Can you explain why?
ooh, that's a damn good question. That's what I used to think too. I used to look at Caspa as this. Yeah, I'll just answer the question. So basically, why did I do that? It was because I had too many questions unanswered with Bitcoin. That gave me fear, and all my money was in Bitcoin. And then I actually found the answer. Usually, what happens is if I'm fearful, then I start asking questions, and I'm not fearful if I get answers that I like. If I get answers I don't like, then I am scared. Like I don't like that if I look up how does the dollar work, and then I see that it's inflated 8% a year, that makes me fearful. So I at least can make a decision to get out of that, and now I'm not in fear. And so I just did that with Bitcoin, and I really needed I started being fearful just holding Bitcoin after having all my money in, or sorry, after having 30% of my money in Kaspa. I realized that if Kaspa dies, I lose 30% of my net worth. And I realized that, wait a minute, Kaspa would only die for one or two reasons. And I realized that those are the exact same reasons Bitcoin would die. And I just realized, okay, well, what has more risk? What are the chances Bitcoin dies for these reasons? And what does that look like? I just did research and I realized, holy fuck, like Bitcoin actually, I mean, I could be wrong. This is not financial advice, but from my values and my perspective, I genuinely believe that Bitcoin has more risk than Kaspa. And I know that Kaspa is newer, but I actually think that that's an advantage. Bitcoin is old, and the clock is running out for its halvings and stuff. And there's no way. I don't want to get too technical into Bitcoin, but I had a lot of fear with Bitcoin, and Kaspa answered those questions in the same way that Bitcoin answered questions from fiat that I had. It just made sense for me to. It's like, well, I don't want to be scared anymore. So I just took all my money. I just put it in Kaspa. I was like, all right, this makes sense. I don't know. Does that answer the question, or should I go
So
deeper?
if they both have the same risk of dying, if they both had the same risk of failing,
Hmm.
what what is it about Caspa that gave you more sense of security to say I'd rather have my wealth be there?
Beautiful question. So,
Because hold on, because
yeah,
you didn't split it partially, you went all in. So what made you decide to say partially is fucked? I need to go all in.
because I realized Bitcoin's fucked. I was like, I realized what percentage of my wealth do I want to lose, and I realized that if anything that's in Bitcoin is more at risk than what's in Kaspa. And the way that I valued that decision was I realized that both networks are fucked. That's actually what I realized. I am if I put my money in fee I if I put all my money in cash, in 4 years it would be cut in half. So I realized I'm fucked anyway. So cash is not an option. Um, if I put all my money in stocks, then I would give up the permissionless nature, and I'm back in the system. I just don't like it. I'm fucked in that manner, and I barely get a return. Um, and if I kept it all in Bitcoin, I realized that it's gonna die because of it has no fee market, and I realized Kaspa has no fee market either. So I realized Kaspa and Bitcoin die for the exact same reasons at a similar timeline. So if Bitcoin and Kaspa both die for the same reasons, because they are 100% right now reliant on block subsidies. Um, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought, but I guess my analysis here was I need sound money that's proof of work. and I have two options. I have Bitcoin or Kaspa, right? And I have a choice. What percent do I allocate to what? Because one of these is gonna die, and I don't know which one. Both can die, but if I had to choose which one's gonna die, I need to assess which one's more likely. And my mindset was that because Bitcoin is so dependent on the block subsidy for its for miners to get paid, it's just the law of large numbers. I realized that because there's no fee market, Bitcoin has to double in price every 4 years to not have miners drop off, or at least something scary happens. Like, I just realized that Bitcoin gets exponentially scarier now because it's only because of how dependent it is on block subsidies. Um, it only gets harder and harder to pay miners from here on out. To go from $2 trillion market cap to a $4 trillion market cap in 4 years is hard. But to go to a $4 trillion market cap to 8 years is harder. Or sorry, from 4 to 8 in 4 years is harder. If we were to go from it, I hope I'm not losing anyone, but to go from an $8 trillion market cap to a $16 trillion market cap in 4 years is even harder. So I realized from this point on, we're at a point where it's only going to get harder and harder and harder for Bitcoin to have security. And I just realized I have a choice. Do I stay in the network where it's only going to get worse unless it mutates, or do I try something new? But it's not even about trying something new. It's actually about the fact I get a few benefits when I switch to Kaspa. By switching to Kaspa, it restarts the clock on that fee market issue or the block subsidy issue because Bitcoin has been around for 15 years. The odds of its market cap doubling, like I said, it only gets harder and harder. Kaspa technically doesn't need a fee market if it also doubles the same way as Bitcoin. And it's just mathematically, what's easier to double? Kaspa is $1 billion market cap. So just for that fact alone, it's as if the clock has restarted on Bitcoin. The capability for the block rewards to bail out miners is actually less than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, it's harder for miners to get bailed out every 4 years. So even though Kaspa has a faster halving, I realize that I think I'm taking less risk because it can easily like there's so much more ceiling. Bitcoin is already at it's at like its last few halvings, whereas Kaspa is only just at the beginning. And I like, do I want to put all my money in something where something's at the very end of its life, or do I put my money in something where something's at the very beginning? And so just that alone, just looking at market cap and how miners get paid, even though Kaspa has faster halvings, the capability to double is easier on Kaspa versus the capability to double on Bitcoin just for paying miners. So I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's just strictly that's what made Kaspa okay, that makes sense for me. But then also the fact that and let me know if I'm rambling, but so that was one way that I said, okay, Kaspa makes more sense. I should leave Bitcoin. The other thing was there's at least a shot of a fee market. And I see the value. I see, look how I'm leaving Bitcoin because there's no fee market. I'm not leaving Bitcoin because I want to. I would rather not. I was planning on holding Bitcoin to like $1 million a coin. I can't do that anymore. And my logic is because there's no fee market. Look how dependent it is on the subsidy, and I just pointed out how big of a risk that is. Um, and so I now see the value in, damn, I really wish there was a fucking fee market on this thing because if there was a fee market, Bitcoin would be completely decoupled from this hurdle rate of needing to double every 4 years. I was like, I don't like that. That's a huge risk for me and all my money. That's insane. So I also have a little bit of hope that if Kaspa does work out, it's the only protocol that can decouple the security. It can decouple the security from price, and I'm seeing value in that. And I want transaction fees to fund the network. And then I also believe in how it's going to do it. I just see the logic in how Caspa's built and just how those fees are going to be acquired. And that was my spaces the other day on the fee market, right? But Yeah, I hope that answers the question. So it's mainly the fee market I wish Bitcoin had, then I wouldn't have to leave. And then I just see that there's less runway on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's running out of runway. Kaspa has potential to bail out miners more often, even though we have a faster emissions. Anyway, I hope I didn't ramble, but does that answer the question?
Yeah, you made a lot of really good points there. The fee market, the fact that Caspa has a faster probability of doubling before Bitcoin does, the Bitcoin subsidies not really working out. There's a lot less risk. And then the fact that every halving it needs to double in price. That's a terrible business model. There was one thing I thought that you were going to say and you didn't, so I want you to kind of maybe go in this direction.
Okay.
19%.
Ah, yes. So that's the hurdle rate. That's so 19% is the number that I referenced when talking about how basically, so as I was saying, Bitcoin has to double every 4 years in price, right? And I just did the math on that. If something has to double every 4 years in price for Bitcoin to not lose miners, I just said, well, what's the annual growth rate of that? And I just put it in a compound interest calculator, and I saw that, wait a minute, Bitcoin's price, I could be wrong, but the numbers show that if you want something to double in 4 years, it needs to rise 19%. And I realized that um, if Bitcoin's price stays the same, and then there's a halving, we lose miners. So what has to happen for us to not lose miners? A few things, like electricity costs can go down, technology can get better, right? But the biggest factor is price. And so if price, um, stays the same, it's kind of fucked. But I realized that 19% is what will sustain Bitcoin. I realized that if Bitcoin gets 19% growth a year, it's actually fine. Everything I just said is not really a real risk. If Bitcoin grows 19% for eternity, then it works out. It's totally fine. And then I guess I'm wrong, right? But then Bitcoin survives. But it's flying very close to the sun. But if it
Is it possible to go 19% forever?
That's exactly what I thought. I thought, you know what? Maybe Bitcoin can get 19% for a long time, but I was just thinking of the law of large numbers. You know, 19% for 4 years is doubling something. So if you just something that's $2 trillion, it needs to be 4 trillion in 4 years. And then 4 more years, it needs to be 8, then 16, then 32. I just realized once Bitcoin's $8 trillion market cap, how the fuck is it gonna become $16 trillion in 4 years? I'm banking that that's not gonna happen the way people plan, and if that happens, I think miners are gonna drop off, and if miners drop off, people are gonna shit themselves. Price is already not going up that much in that time period. People are gonna be scared. Price is gonna fall. I don't know. Like I'm not saying it's a death spiral, but like doesn't I don't know how. If there's all these halvings, the whole point is to cut the reward in half. The only reason it's been alive is because the rewards doubled. So I don't know what happens
Yeah.
when Bitcoin stopped doubling. I just fuck.
Yeah, it's going to get harder and harder to double the higher it goes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the fee market, and I was looking at the fee transactional chart over the last few years. Before Lightning came out, the fee market was pretty strong.
Yeah. The
So, what are your thoughts on Lightning affecting the fee market?
honestly, I used to believe that a lot of what Bitcoiners would say, how oh the fee market's gonna be fine because so many people are gonna be opening up Lightning channels and that'll be what funds the fee market. But my perspective is, well, no one's really using Bitcoin. Actually, 500,000 daily transactions occur on Bitcoin a day out of the 800,000 that it can handle, and it's generating nothing. So it's already close to max capacity, and it's already doing nothing for it, um, which is odd because Lightning also exists. I believe Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, a decent amount, are actually using Bitcoin, but no fees are generated. Simultaneously, I believe a lot of what should be happening on Bitcoin that would be ramming up the fee market at least, um, is on Lightning. So Lightning, I believe, since it came out, if you look at the chart, um, Bitcoin's price has only gone up. More users have joined, but the fee market's identical to what it used to be. It's actually worse than it was in 2014. How is it that the asset is now 20, like 10 to 15x larger than it was back then, and the amount of fees is worse, you know? And so I just realized my hope for a fee market is dead. I That would be what bails out my block subsidy dilemma. I bank on the fee market, but I'm looking at the data and I realize we've gone from flip phones to AI in the same time that Bitcoin should have had a fee market and it hasn't. Like imagine if Bitcoin's basically been on food stamps for 15 years straight. You know, like government subsidies, and it hasn't produced any revenue. And it's just, I mean, I don't like that's the data, and I'm just like, this looks fucking risky, man. You know, that's my analysis.
So what makes you feel that Caspa's fee market is the answer?
Good question. Because if you look at Casper right now, the fee market's also cooked, right? So it's like, what the hell are we doing? Um, my belief is that, well, Casper's only 3 years old. So how many fees did Bitcoin have 3 years in? Not very much. So that makes sense. Actually, Casper's 4 years old. But um, okay, so we're new. So I'm going easy on it. But I believe that I learned that. Remember the day we did 150 million transactions or whatever on Caspa?
Yeah, 158 billion.
158 million exactly, and that generated, I don't know the exact number. um I thought it was 5,000 to 10,000 Caspa. I saw somewhere else the other day that it was actually $500 with the fees. But the idea is,
Hmm.
whatever it was, miners got something, but the idea is, if we got 150 million transactions that were monetary transactions on Caspa a day, like right now, if every day that speed test was happening over and over again, miners are still fucked. 500 bucks a day or 5,000 Caspa a day is not enough. So that's when I realized, holy shit, like, is this Caspa model not sustainable? Like, are we screwed? Like, what the hell? What did I put all my money into, and we don't even, the math doesn't even work out? What the hell? So that's when I did some research, and that's when I found, oh, that's the day we did 150 million transactions of air, right? Those were
Yeah, with no data, no weighted data.
exactly. And then I saw we did, whenever you do transactions with data, it's much, Caspa has a different way of charging for the amount of data, and that is what feeds the miners. And so that's when I was like, oh, so I just was thinking the
Hmm.
heavier the transaction, the less volume we need, and that's actually really good, right? Less risk, right?
So basically, having a Dropbox alternative, having YouTube alternative, X alternative, WhatsApp alternative, all these different alternatives built on Caspa, powered by Caspa, those would be what actually would keep the miners paid and keep the fee market really strong. So that's also what makes us different, right? Because
Yes.
when VProgs comes out, we're going to have all those new dApps and there'll be nothing stopping it because we don't really have anything out there where everything's built on it and it's affordable and it's decentralized and it's scalable, etc. So this will be the first.
This will be the first, the 100. That is the value proposition, and it's never existed before. And yes, that will be what funds the miners, I think. Excuse me. But yeah, 100%.
That's amazing. So that explains how you used your fear to calm you by actually studying Bitcoin and weighing it against Caspa, and it came down to the fee market. And all things weighed the same. It started looking at Kaspa and saying, well, it has an easier time of doubling. It doesn't have to double every halving. It doesn't need to go up 19% each time.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the core versus knots debate?
Ooh, I think it's. Thanks for asking these questions. I love these questions. I love just yapping away about Bitcoin and Caspa. So thank you.
I love it. I love that you're so open and just going with it.
Yes, yes. So your question was Bitcoin versus knots. What are my thoughts?
Yeah, what are your thoughts on it?
I feel sorry for both of them, and they're both forever going to be unhappy. And you have one group of people who, what's really sad is, oh, this is really dumb. Okay, you have one. I'll start from the simplest. You have one group of people who just wants Bitcoin to be money, and that makes sense. That was actually me. I remember watching Bitcoin Knots videos, thinking like, oh shit, like this is kind of scary. What happens to Bitcoin, right? Before I found Caspa. And I remember rooting for Knots because I'm like, yeah, Bitcoin's money. I don't want NFTs. I don't want this crap on here. Um, and it makes sense. Um, but then I saw the Knots side, and the Knots was all about, or sorry, and then I saw the Core side, and the Core side is all about they advertise utility value. Let the people use Bitcoin for utility. And what they referenced was NFTs, meme coins. First of all, you barely even get that, but you get Bitcoin's version of that. Some neutered whatever that is, but and people are just literally uploading Bible verses. They're uploading what's considered spam. Bitcoiners, the core side calls it utility, but the reality is Bitcoin is so neutered that it barely because it only grows at 1 megabyte every 10 minutes. You barely get any utility from it, and so Bitcoin Core, they're claiming, well, no, we want Bitcoin to have utility value, but you don't even get it. It's so limited that's not even available. But what's really odd is it's just enough data. There's just enough wiggle room to upload stuff that probably isn't good to Bitcoin. And if you're someone running Bitcoin, not a node, and you want strictly just money, it doesn't matter what you want because if you want to be fully self-sovereign and run an archival node, you're forced to get whatever that person has from not or whatever that person has from Bitcoin Core, whatever that person uploads or values, it's going to end up on your node. So I realized that the group of people who want utility value, they barely even get that. And then the group of people who want just money, they don't even have a voice. They just whatever crap some random idiot uploads on Bitcoin, they're forced to store. And I just realized, I was like, what? Like, both parties are unhappy. They can't win. And it's simply because of how Bitcoin's designed. And simply Caspa actually fixes this. Because of, we can rebuild the network from a pruned node. You can just run a pruned node and basically delete all the, you never have to store any arbitrary data. You just store the UTXO set. Boom, problem solved, done. Bitcoin's having fucking World War III over a nothing burger. But it means a lot, you know?
What side would you be on if you had to pick, even knowing both of them are fucked?
I've already picked a side. I run a Caspa node.
Good answer.
I don't know. I real talk. I value the idea of I don't like censoring people. I love the idea of running a Bitcoin core archival node in the sense that yeah, Bitcoin's a blockchain. It's a distributed ledger. Let's use this technology. I don't know. I'm all for. I'm a technology maxi. But for personal responsibility, I would never run a Bitcoin Core archival node just simply because of like if people start uploading like illegal stuff, it's like I don't want that on my computer. So I would never have the balls to freaking use that. Um, so I would really
Yeah, it seems like a pretty big liability in some jurisdictions.
exactly the big liability. I actually looked up the laws and it would be okay. Like you could be fine because it's not really your fault, but it's just like I don't even want to deal with that shit, you know? It's just like it just kind of ruins it, you know? So Bitcoin, I would realistically, I would run Bitcoin knots, and give myself the illusion that I'm doing something meaningful, even though Bitcoin Core would always end up on my nuts node, right? But yeah, Kaspa node for the win. I get the best of both worlds. I want sound money, and that's all my computer is right now. And I'll whoever wants to run an archival node, that's up to them, and they get maxed out utility value because it's not neutered, you know.
Yeah, so you're choosing to do the non-archival node, right? Right now?
Right now, yeah, not. I actually wanted to do an archival node for Kaspa just because, I had this vision that I wanted to that there would be smart contracts one day, and like I could borrow against Kaspa for dollars, and I would want to store that smart contract on my computer. But it just hasn't happened yet. But when Kaspa has more utility value, I'll probably run an archival node, right? I bought the hard drive for it. I just right now Kaspa can't do those things, so I run a pruned node. So
Yeah, for now. And when vprox comes out, everything's going to change. And with Dagnite, it's going to be just as on a hardware. Are you mining right now?
no, actually, I'm not mining. I for the past like 3 months, I've really been thinking about buying a miner. I just haven't. There's reasons why.
What about the fact that your brother is getting into mining and you partially convinced him?
I know he's actually the reason I'll probably get one. He's helping me pull the trigger on it, but I have reasons. I just don't want. I like live with family right now, and I just don't want them to see that I got like some fucking computer in my room. That's I don't know. I just don't want questions from them. I don't want to have to explain Caspa and all that. But I'm waiting till I have more privacy to just have a miner.
You can tell him it's a heater,
It's a heat
the winter.
for the winter. Yeah, I could do that. I'll probably miner soon, but I just haven't done it yet. I've also just been putting my money into Caspa instead, but I really do want a miner.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not mining, so I was just curious. I figured that since your brother recently got a cash something.
He hasn't got it yet, but he wants to get one. He wants to get one. So I think if he when he gets one, I'll realistically I'll probably get one so we can both explore it together.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Is he running a node?
No, no, no. He's very new to Caspa. He doesn't really know. I mean, he barely even knows Bitcoin. He he actually was just talking about Bitcoin, and then I was like, bro, let me tell you something about this other protocol. That's how it started. But yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing that he's going to get into mining before running a node. I mean, I was running a node before I did even testnet mining. It was my introduction sort of into that. And then I
Whoa.
would mine on the testnet. For instance, I was mining on the testnet before Crescendo because I wanted to make sure Crescendo would work well. And yeah, that's kind of how I did it, but I never mined on the main net.
Whoa, that's freaking awesome. So how did you mine pre-crescendo on the test net? What is that?
So Caspa Silver actually had a tutorial on how to set it up, and I set mine up, and I had a faucet. I had access to a faucet, so I filled a wallet with testnet money, and basically just mined as you would on mainnet, but I did it on testnet using the Caspa NG console, and just did it there. And this was back when well, since it was testnet, we could see how it looks today, but this was back when everything was 1 block per second. But we could see the DAG for 10 blocks per,
That
and we got to see it before it went live, and it was really exciting.
whoa. That you were part of history then.
Oh, you know it.
Freaking
It
awesome.
was super exciting. I just loved that a lot, but I never mined on the main net, so I haven't really been a part of that. And I'm not able to run a public node because of my web host, not my web host, my internet service provider. They do not allow port forwarding, so I have to run it privately. unless I'm willing to spend an extra $13 a month to have a non-shared router system or whatever. And then
Ah,
I can do port forwarding. It's just such a pain in the butt. So I am currently not running a public node, but it's exciting that we just reached 1,000 public nodes, which makes us, as a network, one of the big ones right now.
yes, we are officially passed Litecoin, which has existed since 2014. We passed it in way faster.
That's so amazing. That's amazing. How long have you been running your private node?
Oh, let's see here. I probably maybe I'm gonna get the month wrong. Maybe 6 months, maybe a little less. But there are moments where my computer's off or something. I do little bursts of like I don't know, half the month it's running, the other half of the month my computer's off. It's on and off, but probably for 5 months.
That's incredible because you just learned about Kaspa about 6 months ago. That seems as if you started a node right away. Did you?
Yeah, yeah. I actually another thing was fear. I realized that I saw that there were only 300 nodes and it would drop to 150 nodes and it scared the shit out of me and I was like I the only way to fix this, I actually wasn't going to invest in Caspa and put my money there because of the nodes. And I was like I can't trust it. Bitcoin has 20,000 nodes. Why would I use a network with 150? And then that's when it clicked. I was like, "Wait a minute. I don't need to trust them if I just run my own node." And then I just did that. And I was like, "Oh, problem solved." So
Wow, that's incredible. So you actually used your fear to have you
yeah,
do this. Most people would have a completely opposite reaction. Most people, a normal person would not do that. You know that, right?
I'm kind of retarded, but uh, thank you.
A
Yeah, it's
normal person would say, let me test Caspa, let me research Caspa, let me do this to feel safe first. And you're saying, oh, let me get my nodes set up. Okay, now I feel safe. Let me look into Caspa.
yeah, but it
I
just made
love
sense.
that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. It just it made sense to me. It just I actually never ran a Bitcoin node because I was like, oh, there's 20,000 of them. Like I don't care. But Caspa, I was like, what the fuck? There's only 150. If one of these things goes down, who has a copy of my UTXO set? And I realized nobody. And I was like, okay, well, let me make sure that never happens. And so I was like, I gotta run a node.
Wow.
So kind of crazy, but
So you got into Caspa. Wow. Okay. I'm just trying to think because I remember hearing your story. I'm trying to kind of piece together some of these things.
yeah, yeah.
How did you first hear the word Caspa?
Ooh, I didn't. Or actually, Caspa kept popping up in a lot.
Online or in conversation?
In many ways, I Bitcoin mining, and there was this YouTuber who made mining videos, and he kept talking about Caspa, and I didn't really know what it was, but he mined Dogecoin a lot, and I always like looked at Dogecoin as like a shitty coin. I didn't know anything about it, and then he switched to Caspa, and I didn't really know anything about it, but my mindset was, it's not Bitcoin. I don't care, and I don't have enough money for a miner. That was like 3 years ago, and I never really thought of it. Um, but recently, that was at least that made me familiar with the little green K, the little green logo. That's the first. That's what imprinted that. I didn't know anything else, but I guess.
Question, before we even get into Caspa, I want to ask you something about your Bitcoin mindset. When you
Oh,
were focused only on Bitcoin, when you first heard Caspa on all of that, were you listening to YouTubers who were only talking about Bitcoin, or were they focused on crypto broadly speaking?
wait, say that again. Are you asking that?
So when you were in your Bitcoin mindset, were you listening to Bitcoin only YouTubers or crypto
Ah,
in general?
you know what? I used to watch a lot of crypto people, and I stopped, and replaced them with all Bitcoin only. That's all I cared about. Yeah, because I only ever.
Whoa.
Yeah, I was only ever a Bitcoin maxi.
Whoa.
Yeah, I would actually there were YouTubers that I really loved that like kind of they would cover other crypto stuff and I felt like they weren't as credible because I was like, oh, it hasn't clicked for them. They're not a Bitcoiner. They're still dabbling in shit coins, and I didn't watch them anymore. So I just yeah, I was like just 100% Bitcoin content. That's literally it.
So you mentioned Doge. Were they mentioned in the same video as Kaspa, or was this a Bitcoin only person kind of shitting on Doge? How did that come about if it was a Bitcoin only person? How
Oh,
did that come out?
that specific channel, he actually wasn't a Bitcoin only channel, which is actually why I stopped watching him. But at the time, he just I think he started with Bitcoin mining, but he because he just has electricity and he has the computers, he just mines other stuff and he just shares it. And so he used to mine Ethereum. Um, he mined like I think Monero. I would always wanted to buy a Bitcoin miner, and I would just look up Bitcoin mining profitability videos, and I would just compare what's more profitable to mine. And I saw a lot of these mining rigs would mine another coin and then convert it to Bitcoin. I'm like, why? I was like, how is that helping Bitcoin? I was like, what the hell's the point of that? But I was thinking maybe he had a lot of videos like that where he's like, you mine this coin and you convert it to Bitcoin. And it just didn't make sense to me. But one of those coins was Kaspa. He made videos on Dogecoin, he made videos on Ethereum, and then he started making videos on Kaspa. I didn't really know what it was. I just thought it was like I've seen Monero, I've seen Litecoin, and then I saw Kaspa. That's all I knew. I was like, okay, it's just another coin, you know? And so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really answered the question, but that was kind of what he did.
No, it did. It did. Okay, so moving into how you learned about Caspa and making the shift from going from crypto to then going Bitcoin only and having previously heard about Caspa,
Hmm.
was there was there any inclination or any doubt or any thought that maybe Satoshi could be involved in both, or did you hear about that way later?
I actually heard about that way later. I didn't know about that. I didn't really I actually when I bought some Caspa, I started seeing stuff from the Caspa community about like that Jonathan could be Satoshi, and I laughed it off. I was like, okay, these guys are somewhat shitcoiners. Like I didn't really know enough, so I kind of wrote it off. I didn't really look into it or investigate. I didn't really care. But that didn't really pop up until later.
Okay. So
That
that
wasn't like
wasn't even on the radar. That wasn't your intro into it. What about
no.
the trilemma? When did you hear about it being a trilemma solver? Was that early or later?
I actually didn't even really know about the trilemma either. I didn't really know what that was.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so your introduction to it was that Caspa was a profitable miner and you could buy more Bitcoin with it, right?
That was not why I got into Caspa. That was just more of like what put the name in my head, and then I closed the door on it for 3 years.
Right.
That
So it
just
was an introduction of, hey, this is a thing. It's kind of profitable if you mine it. And then you're like, oh, that's great. Okay, whatever, blah, blah. And then just kind
exactly.
of moved on. So then what pulled you in a little bit more to make you say, I want to kind of figure out what this thing is?
Good question. I was dealing with two things at the same time. I was dealing with two issues at the same time. One of those issues was um three issues actually. I might take some time explaining this if that's cool. And so the three issues are I had some Bitcoin and I wanted to finally start spending it. And I knew that Bitcoin was going to keep going up in value. And the idea of opportunity cost was kind of like making me like, I didn't want to spend it. So I started looking into these other, like, there are these platforms you can use to borrow against your Bitcoin. And I realized, okay, Coinbase has one. There's these multi-sig solutions. There's this website called Ledin. And I've always wanted to do it, but I was like, I have to give them my Bitcoin. I was like, I don't trust that. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is there's utility value that I wanted from my Bitcoin that I couldn't get. So that was just one that was on the back burner. And I actually I looked at Ethereum. I even thought of converting my Bitcoin to wrapped Bitcoin so I could borrow against it on like a DEX. I've never dabbled in shit coins in my life, and I even felt like I was committing a sin even looking up like how Ethereum worked. I've never looked at Ethereum, but I just knew I was like, well, wait a minute, people can borrow against stuff on Ethereum. I was like, is there a way I can use my Bitcoin to borrow against on Ethereum, but not a bank? Like, I just didn't want to use a bank. The whole point of I don't want my money in the bank, and I don't want to have to go back to a bank to borrow. So I was like, okay, let me see what I can do with Ethereum. But then I just researched Ethereum and I'm like, this is a fucking shit coin. I don't like the infrastructure. I don't like that it's proof of stake. I don't like the supply. I don't trust it. And there are these other protocols that I can use to borrow against wrapped Bitcoin. I'm like, I don't know how. I actually started researching how does wrapped Bitcoin work, and I'm just like, all of these have so much risk that I don't like. And so I guess that was problem number one. This is kind of weird for me to explain. I didn't really answer your question, but that's what opened the door for me. That was like, okay, I have an issue with my Bitcoin that I need solved. So that was on the back burner. And sorry, I'm gonna take a while to explain this. Feel free to cut me off if I take a while, but that was my first issue that made me realize, okay, I want to do something with my Bitcoin more than it can do. And for some reason, Ethereum is able to do it, but not in a way that's like decentralized, that's Bitcoin ethos. Ethereum has something that I want, but I don't trust it. That was what I had learned through that experience. And it just so happened that um okay, so that's that. I know that sounds weird. I'm gonna pause that. That's what made me realize, something about Bitcoin I don't like. So let's pause that and we'll see how this I'll share more about that later. Um how did I actually find Kaspa, I guess? Um, I actually wanted to do something again with Bitcoin mining recently, like a year ago, and I was looking up what miners are the most profitable, and AI said, ChatGPT said Kaspa, and and I saw that, and I was like, what the hell is Kaspa? And then I remember, I was like, oh, it's this coin that I saw mining from a while ago. I was like, all right, well, it's just another shit coin. Okay, so that's issue number two. I know it sounds weird, but then issue number three was I also had a decent like I had Bitcoin that I wanted to. I realized I was like, what if something goes wrong with Bitcoin? I was just thinking, what if something goes wrong with Bitcoin? I don't want to put my money in a bank. I don't want stocks. I want to diversify. And I thought about owning some Litecoin because I was like, Litecoin is just like Bitcoin. Litecoin's proof of work. If something goes wrong with Bitcoin, and all these big banks are focused on Bitcoin, and I just saw like, okay, if they're gonna attack something, they're gonna attack Bitcoin. I kind of like the idea of having something that's adjacent to Bitcoin to where all the attention isn't on. No one has any attention on Litecoin, so I like the idea that Litecoin is very similar to Bitcoin, but there's no attention. Okay, so I just shared a bunch of random stuff, but all three of those things that I just shared happened at the same time, and that's what made me be like, what is Kaspa? And I researched Kaspa to try to understand, well, why would I put all my money in Litecoin? What about Kaspa? And I didn't know what it was, but I just realized like I was like, before I make any decisions, let me just learn a little bit about what is Kaspa. And just as I learned, I realized, wait a minute, it solves my issue here, it solves my issue here, it's faster than Bitcoin. I've had issues where Bitcoin's really slow. I didn't even talk about that on this call, but I guess I realized that everything I just painted, everything I just shared, I just started comparing Caspa to Bitcoin, Caspa to Bitcoin, Caspa to Bitcoin. Why can't Bitcoin do this? Why can Ethereum do that? Why can't Bitcoin do what Ethereum does? What what is Caspa and how does Caspa work? And I just realized, wait a minute, all the utility value that I want from Ethereum is possible on Caspa, and all the money aspect that I want from Bitcoin is available on Bitcoin. And what I realized I'm looking for is I want both. And that's when I realized, holy fuck, I was like, is Caspa really both of these things? And then I had to research. Sorry, I know that took so long to answer, but that's my um journey. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's
Does. So it seems as if, you wanted the money side of Bitcoin and you wanted the utility and the builder side of Ethereum,
Mhm.
and you needed both, and Kaspa offered both, and it was fast.
Yeah. You summed it up in
So,
it's way faster than I could have. Yeah.
so from the time that you said, okay, I'm starting to really be motivated to learn more about this Caspa. How long from that moment until you joined the space with the Bitcoiners for the first time? Because that was the Caspa community's introduction to you.
Ooh, yes. Good question. So like when did I find out about Caspa and
Well, the difference, okay, so the time from you being motivated to research Caspa, saying, hey, it solves everything I want it to solve. How long from that realization to you joining that space with the Bitcoiners versus Caspa?
um I actually don't know. I know that I bought my first Caspa purchase right before Crescendo, like maybe a month or two.
Okay, and Crescendo came out May 5th, so that would have been what, April?
So
March?
March, yeah, I think my first Caspa purchase was March. Yeah, that sounds about right. So
Okay.
March, Crescendo happened. That's what it was. I actually didn't really care about Caspa, but then I saw Crescendo happened, and I was so fascinated in the fact that I was like, what the hell is going to happen to this project? I had just a little bit of money in Caspa. Just I had like literally 3% of my money in Caspa, like nothing. Um, and I was like, I just need to see what happens with Crescendo. I was like, this hard fork is going to destroy the protocol, or I'm going to see that this thing actually works. And I saw it. I saw Caspa Silver's live stream, and I was like, holy fuck, this is beautiful. I was like, it worked. I was like, nothing imploded. And so I think from that, sorry, I'm not answering the question, but I think let me think about this. I guess that's the answer is March was my first purchase, and then whenever that Bitcoin Spaces was, I don't know when that was, but that was
I
whatever.
think that was wasn't it about 2 months after you said that you had just gotten into Caspa? So it was just a matter of 2 or 3 months tops.
I think so, yeah. I probably was in Caspa probably 3-ish months, yeah. I
Okay, that sounds about right.
think
So, wow. So within 3 months of you learning about Caspa and just realizing it's not a shitcoin, you were defending it publicly on a recorded space, sticking up for it,
yeah.
and you made the point that where everyone remembers, which was, would you store $100,000 on a Lightning channel?
Yes, yes. And
You will forever be known for that. You know that, right?
yeah, I'm proud of that moment. I didn't think that was like a big deal, but I'm really happy that happened because I don't know, it was beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm glad it resonated with a lot of people because it resonated with me. I just found that I saw that they were kind of shitting on Caspa. They weren't taking it seriously, and I've tried to use my Bitcoin. I've tried to spend it, and I do spend it, and I just found it was slow. I'd have afternoons ruined. I would come home from class and I'd have a limited time before I have a test, and I would try to send a Bitcoin transaction, and like I need to study for my test, but I'm a paranoid cyberpunk. I need this transaction to go through now. It takes forever. I can't focus on study on my freaking test. Like it's just taking up my afternoon waiting for this stupid Bitcoin to go through. Um, and the fee, I noticed my behavior was changing with the fees. I noticed um, I would buy gift cards. I would intentionally make larger purchases to justify the fee. I would spend more money on a fee to rush the transaction. I wanted to ensure I got into the next block. I don't want to be waiting. So I would overpay to intentionally get the peace of mind to get into the next block because I'm impatient Bitcoin, right? And um, I noticed, okay, because I spent $3 on fees for peace of mind, um, I now need to spend. I need to convert it more gift cards because that $3, I don't know, it just didn't make sense for me to if I'm gonna pay $3 in fees, I need to at least convert it to like $50, rather than $25 because that's like 10%. It's the percentage of the fee mattered to me. So I was like, you know what? So I noticed the fees changed my behavior in Bitcoin, and the speed fucked me in afternoons when I legit wanted to buy stuff. Stores would close by the time my transaction went through to convert it back to fiat or whatever. Um, or I wanted to like spend it on a gift card. So I just noticed time was valuable and the money was valuable. And I wanted to use Lightning, but I researched that and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I spent so much time researching Bitcoin and I realized why the fuck do I know nothing about Lightning? And I looked into Lightning. I just didn't trust it. I found that all of these like they felt like exchanges, all these wallet apps, or I had to run my own node, and I just realized the node has to be running all the time. And I'm just like, this seems way, way, way riskier than Bitcoin. And I didn't know how to verbalize it at the time, but I just knew I was like, okay, Lightning has very different risks than Bitcoin, and I like Bitcoin, and I'm afraid to leave it. It was fear. I'm afraid to leave Bitcoin, so I'm not going to use Lightning. Um, and I just saw value in, well, wait a minute, what if I just put, $2,000 in Kaspa and that's what I use to purchase my gift cards, my medium of exchange. What if I just use that instead of Lightning? I trust nodes and hash rate far more than whatever the hell is going on with Lightning. I didn't know how to articulate it at the time, but I knew that I'm not like I didn't even feel comfortable putting $1,000 in a Lightning channel, and that's what led to that in the spaces. Um, you know, I was like, well, if I wouldn't put
Yeah, there was no sovereignty in it.
Yeah, it's retarded.
So, Onion, you've done a lot of research into this. Can you tell us how much hash rate is on the Lightning channel?
Oh God, too much, actually, too much. Um, there's no fucking hash rate on Lightning. Sorry, guys. At least
So, how do you put a cold wallet on the Lightning channel?
you don't, you don't, because I've tried.
Yeah, what happens if you go offline during a transaction while using the Lightning channel?
I actually couldn't fully tell you because I've never wanted to find out. You know, fuck that. I mean, if you go offline,
Why do you think, a question here, why do you think the new businesses that are now going viral with their Bitcoin accepted here stickers on their windows and their cash registers, why do you think it says Bitcoin and not Lightning?
wait, why do you think it says Bitcoin? Oh, and not like they should be upfront.
Yeah, yeah, how come they're not putting Lightning on there? Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, I guess you can get more sales if you false advertise, right? Like you can, um, I
I
think,
mean, because you'd have to move money from Bitcoin to Lightning to even use it, right?
yeah, and actually,
So
yeah,
how is that bringing Bitcoin people in?
um, I don't know actually. I don't know why. What I do know is that I've actually tried to pay a Bitcoin YouTuber with my Bitcoin, for fun, and I was going to send it, and there were issues, and it took me 15 minutes to try to figure out what the hell, why can't I send my Bitcoin to them? Turns out it was a Lightning wallet. I was like, what the fuck? That pissed me off.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And they're not putting Lightning with, if they were honest, it would say Bitcoin Lightning Network accepted here. That would be honest.
That would.
But they don't do that. Instead, they say Bitcoin. And then they reel people in. And then with every transaction, it steals money from the miners,
Mm-hmm.
destroys the Bitcoin network. It does not support it, and they falsely believe that it's going to benefit the network in some way.
Yeah.
But there's no proof of that.
Nope. They 100%. They believe that opening and closing channels is what's going to fund the fucking network, which, well, why hasn't it? You know? It's been 15 years.
And the FUD that I've heard people say, well, Lightning closes on the Bitcoin network. So therefore it must be Bitcoin. But we've also, both of us have been in a space where Bitcoiners admit that Lightning Channel is an IOU. What are your thoughts on fiat as an IOU and what banks do when there's an IOU
Ooh,
and the risk of Lightning being an IOU? Because I've heard you talk about this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
good question. Good question. This is a very odd one. So when I say Lightning is an IOU, that's a very generalized statement because it's too much to pack in one tweet. But from my experience, from my perspective, and just what I know, I believe that the way Lightning works is it's essentially like a multi-sig. I don't know, some cuck watchtower is involved instead of your hash rate. And the idea is that so I think it's I think it's a multi-sig address because the idea is it's like a smart contract on Bitcoin that, or at least on the Lightning nodes, that it redistributes the ownership based on a certain set of rules. And so that's what you're trusting instead of you're literally putting your ownership on the Lightning node. So technically the Bitcoin is stored on Bitcoin, but the logic of who owns it is the logic on the Lightning node, right? That's the contract. And so that's why you run a Lightning node is because you want to trust and verify that that contract doesn't change or the conditions don't change. And so in that sense, you have sovereignty, and it's a brilliant idea in that regard. But the problem is just logistics. It's just a logistical nightmare because you have to have your computer plugged in, or you have to change the rules even more and rely on other computers to be plugged in. And
And you have to rely on the other person not closing the channel and being malicious.
exactly, you have to there's just more trust involved because you've removed hash rate. The whole purpose of hash rate is to not have this shit happen. And so when you remove hash rate and you operate on the Lightning Network, you now literally transferring ownership outside of like you're taking Bitcoin ownership to a network outside of Bitcoin. Um, and honestly, if you run your own Lightning node, I wouldn't really complain. Like that's fine. But the issue is, it's just there's a lot of friction to running your own actual node for Lightning. That if you want to, it's mainly just a user. There's so much user friction that realistically when you see people pushing Lightning, nobody's running their own Lightning node. Um, and in order for you to use Lightning, you need to use custodial solutions essentially that are these apps that run the nodes for you. And um, typically, apps that run a node, if it's on the base layer, I wouldn't care. But because it's the Lightning layer, you have to really trust that they're not going to fuck you. And they're probably fine. But it's just they've completely removed all the things that I value about Bitcoin because there's now liquidity you have to worry about. These Lightning channels, um, they don't let you like spend as I guess freely as you like. There are chances where there's not enough liquidity, and so you have to actually kind of trust more centralized nodes that have a lot of money. Kind of sounds like proof of stake in a way. It's not proof of stake, but it just reminds me of that. Um, Kind of odd that proof of work network is taking notes from proof of stake. I know that it's liquidity routing, it's not the same, but it's just a lot of risk and a lot of trust in other people's hands. And I just realized I'm like, that's not Bitcoin. It just introduced so many risks that I don't fucking want. Um, I don't know. I hope that makes any sense, but yeah,
It does, and that's really brilliant. There was a term that you used. I'm unfamiliar with this. You seemed like you knew quite a lot about it. There's a term. It starts with the word bank, I think.
bank
It's where a bank can um
fractionally
fuck everyone over. I don't know the term. You had mentioned this to me and you said, isn't lightning the same thing as when the banks do this with fiat? Um,
Fractional reserving, my bad. I think that's what you had.
it wasn't even that. There was another term that you used.
Oh,
Oh, oh my gosh, what was it? It's been such a long time.
it was about banks?
It's 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 when a bank uh fails to deliver on their end of the contract, basically, where they pull the rug on everyone. What was that called?
Oh, when a bank does that?
Yeah, you said that this happens in fiat, so what was to make lightning any different?
Oh,
Um,
I think I think when I had mentioned that, I was talking about if you were to borrow against an asset, that's relating to if I were to borrow against my Bitcoin and have it in like another service, they can just change the rules on me, and I need to put up more liquidity simply based on like if they just reassess the risk of the asset. And I just saw that that was about that. That was about borrowing against an asset. I think that.
are you sure? I think this was something else because I remember that conversation, and this was a little different. This was right after that space
Hmm.
where there were Bitcoiners that actually let you talk, and it got cut off, and then the space restarted,
Oh, that one. Okay.
and then yeah, it was after those. So it was that discussion where they said that Lightning was an IOU and they felt really strongly and trusted it. They trusted it a lot. And then after the space, you had mentioned that it reminded you of how banks, and there was a word that's used in banking that I'm unfamiliar with that you seem to know something about, but I guess it's escaping both of our minds right now. Um, there's a lot of borrowing against things and having assets, and pretty soon Caspa is going to have the the new finance change thing that's coming, right?
Mhm.
They've just gotten approved for that, and we're moving into that direction, which is really cool. But at least there's less risk of this whole banking problem
Yeah,
that Lightning apparently has some similarities to, but I'm not as familiar. I figured you might be, but since we can't really remember it at the moment, it's fine.
sure, sure. All good, all good.
Yeah. It seemed as if it was some kind of banknote where they, uh, I don't know. I can't remember. I'm having a blank spot.
All good. No, no worries, no worries. But I do know
Hmm.
that Lightning can be similar to fractional reserve banking if people just rely on all of these Satoshi. I mean, I don't know the name of the, but there's like these Lightning wallets. Um, I just don't know what's stopping them from lying at some point. Like, there's just a lot of trust. So I do. That's if I were to see IOUs or fractional reserve happen on Bitcoin, it would be through the custodial Lightning wallets. Um, that would be the biggest risk. I don't know how that would play out though. But I think people, if you run your own Lightning node, you're probably fine. But I think it would be like if you're a liquidity provider and a wallet app. I think it'd be very possible to get away with that. I don't know how that would work though, so don't quote me on that. But I don't trust it. I guess that's what I'm saying. I don't trust it. If they're providing all the liquidity and you also don't own the money, then I think they can fuck you. That's all I know.
Yeah, I think the term was bank run. Isn't that when you combine fractional reserve banking
Oh, yeah.
with and it's the rug pull? Isn't it called a bank run?
Yes, yes, that's very related to it's when you fractionally reserve and the numbers don't they fractionally reserve too much and the claims of ownership don't match what people actually own. And
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that.
yes, yes. That's what I'm worried about.
Okay, so that's okay. So they are basically the same thing. It's the problem you're talking about, and it's the bank run is the term.
Yeah,
Okay.
bank run. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that was a new thing for me. I had never heard that term until you had brought it up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
scary.
So I learned a lot from you because I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was a thing, and you would think that that'd be one of the first things you learn in finance and learning about money. But I started with money in a very different way. I didn't learn it. I didn't learn that part. So that was really interesting. And now we have Jerome Powell about to remove the quantitative tightening. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Quantitative tightening. I actually don't really know a whole lot. All I do know is that the Fed has been doing stuff to try to make the economy. I don't even, I'm not even qualified to speak on this, but I'm gonna pretend I am.
None of us are. None of us are. We're just people shooting the shit. We don't
Right.
know.
All I know is the government does stuff to stimulate the economy and make numbers go up, and then the government also does stuff to make numbers go down. And all I know is they have been doing stuff to make numbers go down with interest rates and liquidity and other sectors of the market, and they are going to be stopping that. I think they already stopped it, and so um, that's a big relief to the economy because now um, it's like getting punched in the face. Now no one's punching you in the face anymore. You can go about doing stuff, you know? That's my understanding.
Right. Like, well, thanks for not punching me in the face anymore. I hope I get some freedom. How much freedom can I have, big brother?
It's Jerome's punching us all.
Dude, yeah. So, just kind of shifting to this question, I wanted to ask about the recent conversation that Jenny had on Blockchain Banter, where he mentioned Binance
Hmm.
getting a hold of KEF and saying, "Hey, guys, can you please ask the Casper community or Jonathan, make it stop? Please make it stop. We have too many people asking to have their Binance accounts deleted." Which of course we know is because Binance has been snubbing Kaspa.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Did you ever have an account on Binance?
I actually have an account, but I can't use it. And I don't even know my login. So I've never I don't even think I put in a debit card. I think I just made an account. But regarding the situation, um, when I was listening to that blockchain banter, I was kind of zoning out, and then I heard that clip, and I immediately jumped. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, Binance apparently in the back rooms, like, okay, it's official. They know about Caspa, and they're now um hoping that you know how we've all been posting like, okay, it's been 3 million views now. No one's seeing it. We're all deleting our accounts. Like the fact that they responded to that behind the scenes, at least from what I
Yeah,
heard on that call, I mean that's freaking crazy. I don't know. I mean, that's what are your thoughts?
I don't think they expected the public to find out. I don't think they expected Jenny to make it public. I think that this was supposed to be some kind of backroom strategy, and I don't think they expected this to happen. And I'm surprised that they even went to KEF and thought that they could control the Caspa community, who are completely
You
decentralized,
know,
right?
yeah.
And there's been a lot of people deleting their accounts, and I don't blame people for doing it. I mean, people have been trying for years to try to get Binance to list Caspa, and they keep teasing us with tweets, with colors on their tweets, with language on their tweets. They've been talking with Wolfie and asking about how to integrate certain things. They've gone to seminars and conferences where a Caspa booth is, and they'll have their Binance associates go and check on Caspa. We have pictures of that.
Oh, wow.
So Binance has known about Caspa, and they have teased Caspa, and they use us for engagement farming. And the fact that they never publicly responded to Jonathan's reply to them, denying them politely their he didn't decline the award, but he declined to speak on behalf of receiving the award in Dubai, which starts tomorrow. And instead, he went to London today and was around his Caspa family, basically.
Wow. I
And
didn't know.
the Caspa community, yeah, that's why it happened. He wanted to stick up for the Caspa community, not only for them voting for him, but for believing in him
Wow.
since the beginning. And Binance has they haven't refused to list Kaspa, but they're snubbing Kaspa.
Yeah.
They've had every opportunity, and they use us for engagement farming to get more likes, more retweets, more comments. And a lot of the Caspa people they've just had enough. And I've seen so many tweets of people saying, I'm deleting my account, or I just deleted my account, or I have a dead account and I can't use it anyway. Kind of like you have one, but you don't use it. And so Binance sees this. They see that there is a movement of people upset, and yet they still have not made a public statement
Wow.
acknowledging anything. They haven't even said, we've heard you guys, calm
Yeah.
down. We hear you. None of that. I got a comment from Binance just yesterday, and it was a robotic tweet that they were copy and pasting to select people. And I think they contacted me and I think Gonzo, but don't quote me on that. We both got the exact word for word same tweet from Binance that said, just because there's a future listing does not guarantee a spot listing, blah, 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 the same bullshit they've been saying all the time. So,
Oh,
yeah, we're just done, right? We're tired of asking and people can say, well, stop begging, right? Because Binance, they need Caspa more than Caspa needs Binance. And I agree.
yeah.
And I actually had pretty much stopped engaging with Binance, but I got fueled up again after Jonathan made that reply. And so I've been kind of rage baiting, saying some things to Binance to piss them off.
Good.
And because, hey, it's working. Because if they were to since they contacted KEF and said, hey, please control your people,
Yeah.
well, then they're listening.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, good thing, that's crazy that they even responded, but yeah, I guess they're feeling the pressure, the Caspa community.
They're feeling it. They want it to stop. And yet they want us to behave, but they don't have the common decency to even have a PR person write some kind of kind,
Yeah,
thoughtful, non-casino letter. They just don't do it. They don't care. They want us to behave for them, but they won't extend the olive branch for us. They just
exactly.
they just continue to be market makers,
Yep.
and they don't seem to I know they're not a charity, so I don't expect them to be compassionate. I don't expect that. I know they're greedy and they're a corporation. It's their job.
Yeah.
However, when you have something that's cypherpunk, that is built on principle, that's built on decentralization, that's built on sound money, that is not corporate, it deserves a different attitude and it
Yeah.
deserves some fucking respect. And they haven't given it. And that's what pisses people off, in my
Yeah. 100%. It's yeah, it's exactly it's the cyberpunk. It's because we're real. Like it's literally exactly what Jonathan said. Why the green frog and not something real, you know?
yeah, we're leaderless. And so we expect a different answer. We don't want a canned bullshit answer. We're not a corporation. We're not XRP, right? We're not doing something that is trying to be hidden in private like Monero. And I have a lot of respect for Monero. But what everything Caspa puts out there is transparent. It requires a different attitude.
Yeah.
And the fact that Binance continues to be flippant about it is arrogant.
Yeah.
And this is why I really have so much respect for Jonathan showing up in London today, making his speech, hanging out with Caspa OGs, drinking beer, hanging out. I just assume he was drinking beer because people have been saying give him a Guinness, but I don't know. I didn't see him drinking beer. But we see him taking pictures with our buddies. You know, I
Yeah.
saw him taking pictures with all the blockchain banter hosts, Lavendi Pro, Chris Hutchison, and my co-host Juan. I wasn't there, but there was a giraffe in the background. I said, "That's me." So,
Some
uh, so yeah, Jonathan's out there taking pictures with Kaspa people rather than accepting a prestigious award in Dubai tomorrow. And that says a lot about his character.
wow. Yeah, that's just fucking beautiful.
He could have gone to Dubai and shook hands with the market makers and said thank you and thanks for Caspa people voting for me and this is so great, yada yada. But no, he said, fuck this shit, respectfully. I'm going to London to be with my people.
And then he talked about he did a whole 24-minute PowerPoint on something 5 years in the future advanced on decentralized mining. Like he'd rather talk about that than boost his ego with Binance and accept an award. He's no fucks given.
Really? And he didn't even ask anyone to vote for him.
Yeah, that's true. He was silent. He didn't even care. We all elected him. We wanted him to win.
He won fair and square and he wasn't begging for votes, unlike the guy that won over Michael Sutton. He was begging for votes and getting his cousins, sister-in-laws, brothers, sisters, dogs to vote. You
Yeah.
know, Jonathan didn't have anyone. He didn't ask anybody to vote for him. People just showed up for him because
Yeah.
obviously we believe in his idea and we like what he has created and we stand behind it.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. It's a shame that it kind of ended up this way, but I'm glad it did. It's a big stance, you know. And I'm glad that Jonathan is he has good character, you know, and it's this is a good moment to have it shine, you know.
It is. So I know we've been on this for a while and I didn't want to keep you too much tonight, but is there anything that you wanted to talk about before we start to wind down? Is there anything that you wish I would have asked you or anything you wish you could have brought up while we're here?
Good question. I actually have no idea. I don't know. My brain is kind of fried right now, but I don't know if I had something I'd think of something, but thank you though. Yeah, I not at the moment, not at the moment.
Well, Onion, I've been wanting to pick your brain for a while and you bring so much valuable insight, not just with your story of having been a Bitcoin only maxi who's now a Caspa only maxi, not a partial, you're all in. And your story is one that I'm sure a lot of people want to learn from, as well as the knowledge that you have with AI, with fractional banking, with understanding how fee markets work, with understanding how weighted transactions work, understanding of things such as mining or running a node, or just recognizing and weighing the likelihood of Caspa doubling before Bitcoin and understanding how Bitcoin halvings work with needing to double every halving and increase every year by 19% and bank runs and everything else. There's just so much that we could cover, so much content. And I learned so much from you. And I just want to thank you for even taking the time to let me ask you these questions today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm more than happy to do this. This was awesome. I love sharing this. I love talking about Caspa. Obviously, I love talking about Bitcoin. So this is I'm more than happy. So thank you. Um, and I also learned a lot from you as well. So keep doing what you're doing. You're also incredibly valuable to this space as well. So um, hell yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone here who not only is here with us live and listening and being a part of this experience, but I also want to thank everyone that may be listening on recording later. We just love this. And I really have wanted to get with Onion for a while and just pick his brain and hear what he knows and how he got to this place. And I'm just glad there's other people that are just as interested. So yeah, thank you everybody for all of this. Thank you so much.
Real
And Onion, I want to thank you. I'm gonna let you have the last word here, but I just want to thank you also for just letting me be here with you and talk with you.
Yeah, no worries. No, I actually just thought of something. You asked if I have one more thing I want to say. There is, um, not to take away credit from myself, but I'm literally just flying by the seat of my pants. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. And I know it sounds crazy, but when I got into Bitcoin, I something that's it's there are a lot of examples. I was as Bitcoin aged, I might go on a tangent here if that's cool. I just happen to think of this closing
Go
thoughts.
for it.
Um, there is something about risk where the less knowledge that's available, combined with how hard is that knowledge to get, how much friction is there to get, that is equivalent to, in a way, like how much reward there is, right? And so I noticed that while I was in Bitcoin, when I first got in, there was less public knowledge available. Every that like the first year I was involved, I really wasn't involved that early, right? But in the year 2017, there was like I just found when I was in high school, it was I just found that as more time passed, it was easier to get knowledge on Bitcoin because right now, if you want to learn about Bitcoin, there are so many resources available. There's YouTube videos, there's podcasts, there's articles, there's Twitter Spaces. There's like you can look everywhere on the internet and Bitcoin is everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Not only that, but there's a lot of good information on it, except for the negative side, right? There's only the positive stuff you can find. But when I was earlier in Bitcoin, that kind of wasn't a thing. Like a lot of the YouTubers that I watched, they were really small accounts. And so the people that I looked up to were kind of just I looked up to them, but they were flying by the seat of their pants. Their videos were unique to what they believed. Like there was no Michael Saylor at the time. So Bitcoin has a lot of figureheads now, a lot of official people. And I guess what I'm trying to point out is like I feel like in Caspa right now, I don't even know if that exists. Like there's really no Caspa spokesperson that's like a Michael Saylor. Like we don't have someone trying to break down concepts of Caspa. We don't. I mean, we have Caspa Silver. He's probably like the closest thing, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is Caspa's so small um, that I think, at least me personally, all my ideas when I say stuff about like, oh, Bitcoin's got 19%, it needs to have that hurdle rate. Bitcoin needs to hit 19% a year. I don't really like I don't really know if there's any research papers written on that, right? Like I'm kind of just making a lot of claims, but this is just from my personal risk analysis. I don't fucking know. Like it's just I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm just trying to draw conclusions from numbers that I run, and if it makes sense to me, that's how I personally make a decision. Whereas when I was in Bitcoin, I was able to kind of be more blind. I was able to rely more on other speakers and voices. And so I guess what I'm trying to articulate here is because there's less people in Caspa, I'm having to make more decisions on my own. I'm less dependent on others. Whereas when I was in Bitcoin, I could kind of just blindly trust the voices I followed and make my decisions based on that. I obviously researched and stuff, but with Caspa, I'm finding like I gotta really research this stuff on my own. And so everything I'm sharing is like I'm not an official source, you know? And so I guess that's just kind of the cost of something that's so new. So I guess what I'm trying to say is do your own goddamn research, you know? Because I could be wrong, you know? I don't know what the fuck I'm saying, but um yeah, Caspa is very new and I think a lot more knowledge will be available in the future as more and more people learn about it. And it will be I think in the future people can have the luxury to be more blind to it, whereas right now I think learn as much as you can. And I just maybe in a way I guess I'm trying to say don't trust, just verify, right? Like because I could just simply be wrong on the stuff I say. um I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's all. We're in something very early, and I'm just doing my own risk analysis and sharing it. So that's all. I hope that makes sense.
You're awesome. And you're right. Everyone do your own research. don't trust, verify, always verify. And if you verify once, verify twice.
Yeah.
Or double check. Always check your wallet addresses, etc. Just double check everything. And I guess we can finish by just reminding everyone that if you don't have your keys, it's not your money. So get your money off the exchanges, put your stuff in a cold wallet, preferably a hot wallet, I guess. But if you have your money on exchange, you might want to take that off because that's how they manipulate the markets.
There you go.
So, not your keys, not your wallet. Thank you, Onion. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And yeah, everyone have a great rest of your night.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
All right. Bye bye.
Peace out.